Hello and welcome to Talk Product. My name is Casey. I have my good buddy Joel Beukelman on the other end of the line. Last time we talked and we just like caught up a little bit was 2021. It's been that long, which I still can't believe. So Joel, dude, it's good to see your face. I miss you,
You too, man. It's been I think we're getting old. If like the last time we talked is years ago, that means we're getting too old.
dude. Seriously, don't remind me. Like I I feel it, but I don't. Well, I don't know. Like I kind of feel like I'm getting older, but I kind of don't. Like in a weird way.
No, for
Maybe
sure.
later 30s is a weird period maybe where it's
Yeah.
like
No, I
I'm
mean I
I'm starting
turn
to.
yeah, I was gonna say I turned 40 this year. My son was asking something about his friends' parents, and he was like, "No, you're not like any of my friends' parents." I was like, "Is that good or bad?" And he was saying like how, you know, I think he was mentioning about like the music and the fact that I have tattoos, but like I still feel like a young spirit, like an old soul in a sense, but like
Yeah,
the things I'm interested in are fairly adolescent as far as like metal shows and all those things. But
dude,
yeah,
I have something to show you actually. So speaking of metal shows, me and my buddies have been going out a lot lately. We went and saw Opeth, and
nice.
dude, I snagged this hoodie here. I mean,
Look at
the last
that,
time I had a band hoodie
beautiful.
was maybe like 2018,
Yeah, dude.
2017.
Yeah, no,
But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I've been going to more shows, and it's nice to have a little bit of cash to support and just buy cool merch. But yeah, can't have all band tees. Got to go to dinner eventually.
No, I know. That's my
Yeah,
wife always gives me a hard time because like half of my closet is pastel like polo shirts, but the other half it looks like a Batman wardrobe. Like it's all just black
for sure.
shirts with metal band logos and
Absolutely.
Bathory and all that nonsense. So
That's
so
awesome.
funny. So like I know you've been working sort of incognito. You've been working on some crypto like AI music stuff. I'm interested to learn more about that and what you've been kind of been doing lately.
Yeah. So when I joined Royal initially, when I left Google, they had a product where they were selling music royalties through NFT as a smart contract. So an artist could release a portion of their ownership in a song, and then as that song basically accrued streaming royalties over time, smart contract would distribute those funds across that fractional ownership. So that was the first product they had started when I first joined, and that was right when that first big NFT wave was hitting, and everyone was buying board apes and all that. So they rode that wave, and that obviously that bubble burst. And through that evolution, I had joined, and there were a number of layoffs. So I basically joined at the tail end of their growth, and then was one of the last designers on the team. And it was kind of this weird. We're pivoting and looking. We're getting our team smaller to kind of figure out what our next phase and season of the product is going to look like. And do you want to be a part of that? And so I had to really kind of figure out, if I wanted to work. Basically, I would have no design team, which was just going to be me and a bunch of engineers. And so, how are product decisions
Yep.
made, and what does that look like? And but it was also a really cool time to like work closer with some of the leadership and some of the other people on the team. So, long story short, I basically contracted with them a little bit in that transition period, and then decided to stay full time. But since then, we kind of went all in on being a Web3 company. We were always kind of in the middle of being like, we're building on Web3, crypto technology, but we want this to be very simple and understandable to any kind of end user. So like one of the first things we did was like go fully all in with like a wallet system for identity. So like not being email based and things like that. But the whole intent was to build um, tools around um, really supporting artists. We've kind of been in the past of like around ownership and distribution of royalties and how that works from a business standpoint and empowering artists to make money. But we spent about 6 months doing a lot of sprint style hack week type things and experiments trying to figure out what new technology was out there, what opportunities were interesting. And through that experience, really, and through really kind of our past and learning from our previous product, started circling around the idea of provenance and asset ownership, really not in the sense of like copyright and enforcement, more at the like root level of where did this file come from, and or what are its relationships to other people or software or whatever. And this all kind of came about with some of the discussions we had with our founder's other partner friend at a AI tech or AI music company, and they have this same issue where you have a bunch of new creators making music with a prompt, and there's a lot of ambiguity, especially for like just streaming platforms and for people that are trying to monetize this around. Well, who made this song and how much of it was AI, how much of it was prompt, and how do you? These are all new concepts, so there's not really a legal structure or like a even a creative um, structure for giving attribution to technology and people. And there's a ton of contention and lawsuits. All that
Yeah.
being said, um, we saw a lot of opportunity to use blockchain and crypto to mint provenance publicly, right, in an immutable way, and being able to tie an asset and what was used to make that asset into one claim. Um, and we do that through a bunch of different technologies. But we basically recently, this last month, launched our provenance protocol. And it's a protocol that anyone can build on. It's open in every sense of the word. And we're just now starting to build different applications on what that could look like, what registering different assets for provenance, what that would look like, and how that might work. And so, yeah, we're doing that and really kind of pivoted from being like a music tool company for fans to being really building like a dev platform and development tools and an ecosystem there. So it's been a big shift. But it's been fun because it's like flexing different muscles and then also getting to design a ton of cool new stuff. But yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, that's interesting. How do you design for something like that? Because that's pretty novel, right? Like going into the music industry, but it's more of like a creation platform, but now you're utilizing blockchain. Like, how do you begin to design for something like that, something that's so novel and unique?
Yeah, I mean, the the Web3 things have been interesting because I wasn't a very hardcore crypto person before this role either. It's one of the reasons I joined because I wanted to understand it better, and more from like the utility and actual like functional technology side, not the like casino buy a coin and get rich side.
Yeah.
Um, and so certain things like being on the right network and connecting wallets and all of those complexities, I feel like were really intimidating at first. And a lot of those things have really got normalized, even though it's still not commonplace for everyone to have a smart wallet. But the technologies that link everyone, especially with like passkeys and authentication, is getting a lot easier as far as bringing people on. But I mean, I see it as far as it being like an ambiguous thing. Like we have the products we're designing are nothing new in the sense of like UI patterns and whatnot. So in that sense, it's like fun to design a lot of these little front end UIs because they're not just examples, they're products, but it's not at scale. We're building this huge thing, right? We're trying to show functionality, um, and so I think it's I find myself doing a lot of conceptual work and then a lot of implementation rather than like going through like the whole workflow, like typically how you would like step by step. We're doing a lot of the defining as we're building on some of these things. And there's some things that are much just a lot slower that aren't really even designs that I'm very much a part of. So like talking about what developers need and in what order and what's most useful, and me just kind of learning actually from that technical standpoint also what we're building has been um, be doing more strategy and product stuff rather than like just design. So that's been interesting too,
Yeah.
being able to fill not really product management, but being able to help communicate and really codify what we're trying to build and the problems we're trying to solve.
That's cool. Your position is a lot like Greg's position when I worked at Dispatch for 2 years, because that was sort of a similar thing. It's like they want to start a crypto project. And so Byron kind of invented this idea of like, how can we use blockchain to send messages to wallets like you would send messages to emails, but also make them like a transaction receipt that can also
Yeah.
be collectible. So that way you can see when an asset is trending, you can collect the transactional receipts as NFTs, collectible NFTs, and then that could be a whole thing.
Right.
And so Greg was the only designer. Poor guy. He was
Yeah.
basically leading the charge on all the designs, and I would go in and help him with some of the tertiary stuff, but like we were so busy building and coding that I never really had the ample opportunity to actually help him a whole lot on the design side. So he was just soloing
Yeah.
pretty much the entire time,
Yeah.
doing all the marketing design, the product design, the design thinking, the test, like the testing, user
Yeah.
testing.
There's
Like
all
it was
that too, like the
nuts.
branding and marketing, and I think that's part of it. Is like there's moments of design where I'm like actually defining a new brand style or some sort of functional UI component across a bunch of screens. Um, but it's not in the same way. Like the primary focus is building, right? Whatever that
Hmm.
means, right? Whether it's like building assets or doing documentation or producing like video assets, it's very much that startup build mode. Rather than I'm a designer and I produce mocks. I still have to do that as well, but it's no longer like the it's not my gripe anymore. Like the even we just launched a bunch of new like front end UIs just from like a marketing like website point of view, and I was like, fuck, dude, I suck at designing websites. Like I've designed software so much. I was like, and so there's a ton of cleanup we need to do, but like we needed the pages up, and it was fine, and it's totally fine. And if we actually were measuring a ton, we would probably notice that it didn't affect much. Right, we're not getting a ton of traffic, so priorities just shift when you're trying to define stuff, and you don't want it to be designed perfect because it's going to change so quickly too. So
Yeah.
things are just super iterative, but I think we're just now getting to the point where we're starting to get like a suite of things that we think will stay around for a while. So I think our next season of growth is going to be trying to bifurcate focus as a team and trying to maintain the platform, also explore new opportunities and partners, and push the platform. So uh, yeah, just kind of wearing all the hats.
Yeah, yeah, as usual. Yeah, it's it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy. Are you guys going to all the weird like crypto events this year? Like I think there's one in Denver, ETH Denver, the whole spork
Yeah,
thing. You guys going to that?
yeah. So I'm still just trying to understand that whole world. We
It's
are, we
crazy,
are,
dude.
yeah. I think we're throwing a party there. I think it's still being decided exactly what's going to happen. I know there's a bunch of things happening, but yeah, we're for sure going to be there. I'm actually don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but we're going to be really just there to talk about the protocol and get people aware that we're doing stuff and trying to have conversations with developers. So East Denver specifically is really built for that. From my understanding, it's a lot of builders and people that are excited about new protocols and new things that are happening. So excited for that. I'm personally excited to start doing kind of more of this stuff, even like really just talking about the protocol, and not from even like a design perspective, but from the real engineering point of view. And we have a couple really smart crypto guys, and getting them to start publishing and talking about what we're doing. We're starting to do that on our blog a little bit, sharing some of the
Hmm.
under the hood or whatever. But I'm excited to start producing more of that content and just kind of have a steady stream of development and growth and building, um, versus like big launches. I think we're going to be kind of building in the public more, which I think is good. It's exciting because the momentum's real. The people are actually watching. There's an immediate feedback loop. Um, but yeah, it's good.
Nice. I have a funny story because we did ETH Denver when we were shilling out like dispatch merch and like passing out
Yeah, have you
QR code
been?
cards and stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, we went. We hosted an event at a brewery. We did like a quiz event where we would ask like a crypto related question, and then people would actually vote on A, B, C, or D. And anyone who participated would get an NFT of the question and the percentage of answers, but then
of
like it
course.
would calculate the winner of each, and then there was like an ultimate winner. We had like a prize thing, and dude, I had
Yeah,
to code that thing overnight, like no joke.
those
I
projects
found out,
always. Yeah,
dude, I was in the hotel and I'm like, how the hell am I going to code this thing? Like, we didn't have like a database for it yet, and so I just had to like have all the
So
data on my local
running
machine. So I
locally on
had,
your laptop, yeah.
and then we were posting up to the Polygon blockchain and stuff like that. So the NFTs I didn't have to worry about, but the actual quiz itself, the front end,
Right,
was all
right.
locally hosted. So if anything went wrong
That's
on
so
my
funny.
laptop, then all all that shit
Yeah,
would have like
yeah,
crashed. It was crazy, but it was a lot of
yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Um,
those last minute projects for those kind of events seem to always go to the very end. We had a party in Austin that we were doing. It was one of our experiments we ran, and it was kind of an in person check in product. But the whole point was to have like the artist or the owner be the main owner of like the whole door and everyone coming in. That was all done through like a wristband check in crypto thing. We built this
that's
really
cool.
cool onboarding through just like an NFC sign up and just like biometrics for the authorization. But just like even that, it was like a small little thing. We had the same thing. Someone wanted like an Xbox or some bullshit, and the whole thing was like last minute. We're in the back of the bar, like trying to push some code
Yep.
on some bad internet Wi-Fi. But it's fun, you know. It's part of it's the closest we get to like a war room, you know.
Yeah, that whole thing felt like a fever dream. Like those 2 years just
Yeah,
went by like so quickly because we were
they
building
really
so
do.
much, experimenting, contacting communities, making connections. I went to a couple of those things and spoke at a couple of those things, and then went to Denver, and then there was the NFT NYC that comes up at the end of the year, and we went to like all those. We went to Miami, and it was a
Yeah,
lot of
lots
fun.
of
But
stuff in
like I
Miami.
said, after like I got laid off, like I needed a minute. Like I needed a break. I had to like kind of catch myself, like basically catch my breath and like take a minute
That
because I just built
yeah,
so
that
much stuff in
space
such a short
moves.
period of time.
It moves so fast. Like the
Yeah.
evolution of what people are building, and then what's hot, and then the events. Like it has this, and really, I kind of observe it from my our founder Justin from his kind of point of view because he's constantly in that flow with his exposure the things he's involved in. So like I'm obviously shielded from really everything from all cold triggers being here in Tennessee on my hill, but the crypto space
You're
in itself,
fortunate.
like it, yeah, I mean, it was intentional. It feels very similar to like when we first met, when we were first starting, like the iPhone first came out and responsive design was new and like everything from mobile screens. Like there was a lot, and you would have like one person design teams that were running an entire app that seemed easy, but these are obviously huge companies and products now. And you kind of had to do everything. We were doing it in like Photoshop because we didn't have Sketch or Figma yet, right? But that it feels very scrappy that way, where it's like this is all gonna kind of formalize. Even with AI, like I'm using AI a lot more, just because I don't have a team, and so like for simple stuff like generating mock copy or um, generating ideas, it's all of my processes kind of changed and evolved because I've had to be scrappy, but uh, when I think about how I learned and what I was designing with to what I might think the next generation designers might be using, or even where our craft and like our job is going in the future, is like totally just uncertain. Like I have no
Yeah.
clue. Right, I'm just riding the wave. Like it all seems uncertain because it's all changing so fast, and so
I'm feeling the
um,
same way, and I was
yeah,
thinking about that before. Like the way that we did things in the 2010s, that's out the window. Like the way that we designed, we shared things on Dribble. We had small communities. Everyone
yeah,
kind of had their niche. And this is my opinion. I think that way of working is gone, and it's going to be gone really quick. There's going to be a lot of generalists that are going to be utilizing things like AI because it is such a powerful tool. No matter how you
hmm
feel about it, positive or negative, it's there, it's tangible, it's useful. If you're not going to use it, someone who is using it is going to get the job over you. That's just, in my opinion, how things are going to work.
yeah,
Having a 15, 20 design team like what I worked in at NASDAQ, that's no longer going to exist. Those design cultures aren't going to necessarily be that
right,
large anymore at big companies. Now you're going to have more design generalists that are going to be in smaller teams, even like in your case, you're like the only guy. And I feel like um, that's the way things are looking, kind of moving forward. I mean, what are your opinions on
Yeah.
that?
No, I think well, for me, it's been more apparent where I'm not building a ton of stuff on the side with AI, but I have played quite a bit with Claude just to like see what it does. And it accidentally builds me stuff that I don't need. Like I was asking it for like a simple text description and it spun up a full tabbed UI with like steps and this whole thing. And it's like, this is out of control. Like this thing can literally build you a website and explain you how to spin up an environment and explain you how to deploy. And like it will walk you through everything. And so like it's very apt to do that in the context of development and like just pushing stuff to your terminal. And um, that's been really eye opening for me because it's always been hard to learn development for me because it really takes digging through and watching a tutorial or having someone just like walk through and pair program with you.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what these AIs do. And so for me, I was like, oh shit, like as soon as there's an interaction where you can give it the problem and have a solution output as some sort of UI, then like most of the job will be done, right? I still think that like for me the bar is like there's always bad design. People will do napkin sketches and implement a bad site on GoDaddy, right? They still do that
Hmm.
today. There's just going to be higher fidelity napkin sketches that everyone can get for close to nothing, right? So um, there's a big larger noise to signal ratio, and for sure there's going to be a lot less design producers. I think like creativity and building is going to be more about um, like curation and taste, and like coordinating things and putting things together, right? We're going to be more like composite artists than like a person that worked in a specific thing. We'll be like kind of producers in a way. And it sounds kind of like romantic and also kind of dystopian in a way as a person that's
It
like a real
is,
artist too, right? Like
yeah,
I love the idea of being able to do everything, but I like despise the idea of everyone being able to do what I do, right? Like it's the
yeah.
complete right. It's special to me, but if it's yeah, and that's that everything that I can't do for someone else is special to them, right? And so like I don't think I try not to think too much about that because I start to spin out pretty quick because I don't have a lot of trust that like it. I have a lot of trust in people that like it'll end well. You know what I mean? In organizations, but like the people, the things we're doing now are fun and interesting, and I don't know. It's hard to like I think it's impossible to know where it's going to go because it's all moving so fast, and even the people
Yeah.
working on it don't fully know what's going on, right? As far as like the boundaries of where AI exists, and so it's frankly why I'm excited about what we're working on at Royal because we're using some of these newer technologies to bring some humanity to what has historically been like anyone can copy and paste a file and that just exists. And we're trying to create like permanent metadata that would be like in a photo file to say like this is this file and this is who created it on this date with this software and 3% AI based and referenced off of this other content. It'd be like full, full what's it called when you're in college and have to write shit the
Full
links at the
transparency? No.
well journalists like the when you have all your links and the
Sources? Full
yeah
sources?
like all your sources and the
Yeah.
bibliography or whatever all of that stuff
Yeah.
right like where everyone gets credits the credits at the end right trying to create an ecosystem where you can imagine a web of content, right, that all has attribution and some sort of tagged importance. Because there is going to be so much shit, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of already have this with like media. Like no one really, everyone thinks that like these algorithms are a problem, and it's like you've always had an algorithm because like you can't look at everything on Netflix. They can't show you everything. They have to filter it. They have to rank it somehow. So like yes, there's people that filter stuff, and I'm sure there's shady shit people do, but like everything is an algorithm, everything is curated because it has to be, because you can't read through everything in the library. You know what I mean? Um, but like that sense of like there's just going to be more stuff, and we're just going to have smarter filters, and there's probably just going to be a lot of content that never sees the light of day.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, there's going to be a lot of shit. I mean, for lack of a better word, like a lot of fraud with AI being so powerful and with a person having the ability to spit out so much content, whether it's video, imagery, audio.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of crap on the internet. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go into the whole dead internet theory. I mean, you maybe have
Yeah.
read a little bit about it,
No.
and how
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a almost a real problem now. But
Mm-hmm. I
there's
mean,
going to
that's
have to
like the,
be, yeah,
let's say, the idea of podcasting. Even this has been one of the things that we imagine will exist if we can get this built right. Is that like you can imagine a world where there's an integration with Riverside. We both, when we signed into this, connected our wallets or sign at the end that say yes, we were both there, right? And so both people attest to say like, yes, I was on that. That's me, and this are the words I said. And that might seem novel for this use case, but if you're interviewing Elon Musk or someone else that's very important, it's very important that other person says, yes, I was there, especially when deepfakes and all this other stuff gets a lot more indiscernible. So I think like that, like a two-factor authenticated, yes, that's me, I think is going to be the world we live in when everything is fake, right? Like we're not going to live in a
yeah,
world with like passwords and usernames anymore. It's not going to be that simple, because security and your data and all of those things are going to be that important. And so I think cultures were really behind on it, right? Like I think still people have a hard time with passwords and emails. Um, but
no,
yeah,
yeah, I totally agree. It's funny because like I remember when I was in high school, I had a English teacher who said one day your future is going to be a lot like 1984. And you know, as a kid, you call bullshit. Like I don't like when you think 1984, you think mass security, which you think security cameras like up on the wall,
right.
hidden microphones, you know, the giant face talking to you. But then you look at today, and then you realize, holy shit, like my phone, it, it's a surveillance tool. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
captures my video and audio. There are now tools out there today that can take my voice, replicate it, and use it for nefarious reasons, or use my
Absolutely.
video and my likeness to possibly manufacture some sort of thing that damns me, right? And it's
Yeah.
just so wild how, I mean, that was 20 years ago, but in context of everything, that feels like it's so short, and it just
Yeah.
like it
She
doesn't
was
feel
right, or they
good.
were right,
Like,
right. And it happened fast. But the thing is,
yeah, there's gonna
even
be,
if there
yeah,
wasn't, even if I had like, well, I 100% agree with you, right? And that,
yeah,
and I try to like flip it the other way around and say like, well, what is like the, even in the most optimistic way, where like there aren't nefarious people trying to censor and or censor and tap and listen and do all these things, like we do it ourselves. We've documented ourselves too much, like for
yes,
free, and gave it
yep,
away. You know what I mean? Like even our, a lot of the noise and get having all of it, like the that dystopian kind of thing, like we did to ourselves because of convenience, right? It's why I live on a hill, because like there's so much, right? There's too
yeah,
much. It's one of the things I said. Is like there's too much to do in California where we live. We had to like schedule things to do nothing because it was so cool. There's so much going on, and sometimes that's overwhelming, you know. Uh, but yeah, I
no,
don't. When it comes to like content and authenticity of content, I think it's a huge issue, and hopefully, something like Royal or a couple of solutions that can get around authenticity, to like the tools for authenticity and censorship and or filtering have to get better if the content's going to get more obscure, right? And so like if the content's going to be indecipherable to the naked eye, then we has to be technical. Then you have to start looking at the file and where did the file come from and how it was composed and where did it, like, I don't know, but like we're gonna, I know someone will figure, like that's what we're gonna have to figure out. Um,
that's a good
yeah,
use case. And
it's
like
weird. It's
speaking
gonna be a
of,
weird world. Yeah,
yeah, it already is, dude.
yeah, yeah.
We're living it, man. It's the reason
We
why
really
I've
are.
like unplugged. Like I've done this. I mean, I'm not in. I mean, you're in Tennessee, right? That's where you
Yeah,
moved.
yeah. Nashville.
Um, yeah, I'm not in Tennessee, but I've unplugged in the sense that I've gotten off of everything. Like if you find me, if you try to find me on Instagram or anything like that, I just like at a moment where like I can't do this anymore, and I deleted like literally everything. The only thing that I have left is LinkedIn, and I only use that because of my internal network, and
Yeah.
that's it. But everything else, like I was like, I gotta unplug. I need to get off of this. I need to focus on my work and my network and just eliminate the noise, and
Hmm.
that's what I did. And you were telling me before we started recording that you got a motorcycle, which excites me because that was a huge part of my life in my 20s. So I want to hear about your motorcycle and any trips that you've
Yeah.
done yet, or your thoughts behind that. Because I mean,
No,
I'm
so
stoked that you're getting into that
it's
world.
actually, yeah, it's entirely on topic. Uh, and so like moving out here was a big deal for our family, and it was during COVID, and it was just it was a weird time for everyone, transitionary time. It was a big time for me personally. Started going to therapy and got sober, and um, just a lot of has changed in those first 3 years living here in Tennessee, for the better, but like big change, big boy change. And one of those things, like one of the things my therapist was working on with me was like, what do you like? What are the parts you want to keep, and what are the parts you want to leave behind, right? And that was kind of empowering for me that like I get to decide that. Like that, I felt like it always been dictated to me, or I was just doing what I should be doing, right? Like never shitting on yourself was like a big deal for me, and not
Hmm.
giving a fuck, right? Um, but that like I get to decide how I spend my time and what I want to do, and the relationships I want to invest in, and that's a personal choice I get to make. And those boundaries I get to set, and so it's a very simple concept, but like it hit me in a different way at that moment. And one of those things was like, I want to go on enduro camping trips. Like I want to get on a bike. I fell in love with it when I watched Long Way Down or whatever with what's the guy from Star Wars? Uh,
Oh, Ethan or
uh, Ewan
Ewan
McGregor.
Ewan
Yeah,
McGregor. There you go. Yeah.
yeah, Ewan McGregor and his buddy. There's a couple different series of it, but they travel across the world on these bikes, and I love that. And I never grew up on bikes. I grew up around them in the desert, but never had a bike growing up. And it was one of those things like I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle, and I always stayed away from it because you shouldn't do it. My mom was scared, and my wife doesn't like it. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna do what I want. And so I, I got my license last year, just to know, just to learn, even if I didn't buy a bike, just to know how to ride a bike, to be capable. So did that and loved it. And then I rented a Harley on my birthday and rode around a little bit here in Tennessee. And then this year, it was just one of those things where I was talking with my wife, and she's like, maybe this year, like, is the year we look at getting a bike and it makes sense for us. And so I just did it. I was just on Facebook Marketplace and found a little KTM Enduro and snatched it up. It was
Nice.
really kind of like a first bike purchase, and probably too big for a first bike, but I'm gonna take it slow. And but yeah, really planning on just like cruising around, forest roads and going on some overnighters. So
It's a really good way to clear the cache in your head. That's what I love
oh, for
about
sure.
motorcycle riding. And I get the same sensation when I'm surfing too. It's like when I'm out there, any problems I had from the day are just gone, and I'm just in the moment 100%. It feels so refreshing to just be in the present, because we're
Hmm.
so used to thinking about, oh, what's going on in the future. I'm stressed about paying bills. I'm stressed about things down the line, and then you get stressed about the past and like if you've learned things or gained wisdom or not, or regrets. But like when you're riding or surfing or golfing, who gives a fuck? You are in the present 100%, and that's where we should be all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I think
when
there's
you're
like
outside of that,
specifically,
it's unhealthy.
yeah, I would say specifically with, I don't think it is with golfing. Like maybe you can like have your moment and be in nature, whatever. But like, I think there's something, and I've heard other people say this isn't like my original thought, but like when you're on a dirt bike or you're existing in the ocean, like you're surviving in a way where like you don't have the luxury to think about something else like that. For
Yep.
me, still, like when I rented the bike the first time, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like this is crazy. Like just I remember feeling like the first time going like 60 miles an hour on a bike and feeling the pressure of the air just push me back, and I was like, I have to actually hold on to this thing. Like
Yeah.
this will put the air will push me off of this, and I can die if I don't hold on to this bike. And there's a ton of fear in that, and a ton of like adventure and like empowerment in it too. And obviously once you get more comfortable, it becomes less foreign. But like you know, you're very present. You see and feel and smell everything. And for me, just the idea, that's why I wanted to get out of California. I just wanted some space and I wanted some land. And so, you know, my little son, I bought them a little kit bike last year and it never really worked really well. So I got it. That's really what got me to get the bike. I got their bike running and I was like, fuck this, I'm getting a bike. And so now my middle son's all about it. And I was like, you want to go on a camping trip? He's like, we can do that. We can go on trips and go motorcycles. Like, we can do whatever
That's
you
cool.
want, dude. And so like he's all stoked on it. And it's something to be excited about. That's just real and authentic. That's not, you know, all the crazy shit that's going around. And so I can like dive into Web3 and talk about all this stuff. Um, and I care about it, right? But differently than I used to care about design. Um, I guess it's just changed in that way. Like it was much more a part of my community and a big part of my everyday environment in the sense that I was living and eating and breathing in tech. And
Yeah.
that's just like the internet's not for us anymore. Everyone else is on there and they've ruined it. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
different now. And if anything, we're on our own internets, right? We're in chats and discords and other places where people aren't. So it's fine. It's just, yeah, being outside is good.
Yeah, dude, I'm straight up just sending letters to my homies now. Like I'm like,
That's
calling
sick,
them,
dude.
sending physical like snail mail. Like, I listened to my record player a lot more the last year.
Hell yeah.
I'm just doing a lot more just like physical, tangible things. And I like what you said when you like had this, like you were envisioning what it would be like to be on the motorcycle, but then the reality of it, it's different than the fantasy. Like I
Mm.
experienced that myself, my very first camping trip. Like, because I had been riding motorcycles a while, I had like two or three, and I would like wrench them. And I mean, you probably saw my shit back in the day, like in my
Sure.
20s.
Yeah.
Like I was always like building, and like I
Yeah.
had a Yamaha, and then I had a Harley, and then like I was just messing around tinkering with those bikes. And I had this like fantasy. I was like, all right, I want to go on my first like full on biker like camping trip. So I
Right.
hung out with the Built Will guys, and we went up to Kernville. And that first trip was just, it was so taxing on my body because I'm on this like
It's a
1200
big
Harley
trip
Sportster. It's a,
from
yeah. And that
Temecula.
wasn't even
That's
like my
five
biggest,
hours,
or,
right?
yeah. And like the riding it was really hard. It was super scary. Um, going up to the campsite, feeling super dirty, tired, not even wanting to like party, but just like sleep in the
Mm.
tent.
Yeah,
And
dude. That's rough.
yeah, and then I did my trip to Mexico with the guys. It was called the El Diablo run, and
Mm.
I actually broke down. Like I broke down like before the border to Mexico,
It
and I
broke you.
had to like fix the bike myself, like because I brought my tool bag, which thank God I did. I was able to fix the problem. It was really stupid. It was the loose battery bolt on the
Mm.
primary, and it just like came loose, and then my bike just fucking turned off. So I had to like go on the
Yeah.
side of the road and fix it, and then you know I had to take
It's the
all my
most
armor
stressful
off because I was wearing
situations.
armor because it
Yeah.
was hot, and I still do not regret it. I am so happy that I did that and that lived that and that I learned from it and gained wisdom from it. But it also is a good reminder that your idea of something will never match the reality of something.
Absolutely.
Like you actually have to do it to understand it. You know what I mean? If that makes any
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, people talk about it all the time and I think over shit on it, but about like the Instagram and everything has this romantic like portrayal
Yeah.
of what it is. Um, and even like moving out to Tennessee was that I was like watched all these YouTubers and they have all these farms and I was like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna sell eggs and I'm gonna get all this, and like there's stuff I bought before I moved here that are still in new boxes that I never used, right, that I still haven't opened and used, because it wasn't what I thought it was, right, but it is also as cool as I thought it was. But there's like uh I don't know. There's like a cost for everything. So I think that like the benefit and the joy and the excitement out of dirt biking or having a bike, like you have that equal risk. And like you pay your dues in the sense of like learning how to do, even just learning how to ride a bike. Like there's a really humbling experience. So, like this is like you think you're all hot and you can do it, and even like even now it's like I have no desire to go on a freeway, on a bike, and my bike goes probably faster than I'll willing to ride it. But like that, I'm learning, right? That's fine. But I think that that's part of like, I don't know, of having boundaries too, is like knowing what's too much and how far to push yourself. But that like breaking yourself is something that like not in a Joe Rogan way, you know what I mean? But like there's
Yeah.
I remember the first like marathon I tried to run. I ran most, or it was my half marathon. I finished it, um, and I was balling at like 12 miles. But it was one of those things like this is hard, and you're doing it, and like that's fine, and you can keep doing it. You know, and I was never competitive or a tough guy, but it was like my Navy SEAL moment where I was like, I could do hard things. Um, but they're for me like the emo kid in me, like there's something that there's fucking beauty in the darkness and like that. There's something that going through hard shit and like forcing yourself. That's why I like to still do cold plunges and stuff. Like there's something like uh I don't know, some sort of like overcoming um that barrier of you know doing the thing you should do even though you don't want to do it, that like internal fighting the dragon, right? Everyone has it at different layers. Some people, sometimes the dragon kills you. But yeah, that being too comfortable is a problem.
Yeah.
And getting like
Yeah.
too far in your
Doing
routine, you know
doing
what I
that
mean?
kind of
Like whatever
stuff.
that is,
Yeah.
whether it's work or whether it's play, like you can get it on either side. And I haven't been like I need to start running and doing some of those things again, but I try not to get too much too like you have to do this and have to do this and like I have to get I can't do that either. I can't have these expectations of myself that I have to be a certain way because like I did that for 35 years, and so like I'm trying to be kinder to myself, but also still like be a good person and do like not be a good person, but like do the shit I know I need to do, like whatever that looks like. Whether it's waking up earlier, like being patient with my kids, or just working. I work from home. It's like you have to show up and do your work. You know what I mean? There's no way around it.
No,
You
yeah.
can't build shit if you're not sitting down at the computer. So
I hear
yeah.
you. Like when I got laid off, I saw it more of a blessing than a
Mm,
unfortunate thing. Like when my manager got me on the phone, I saw him and I saw HR. I did like a this thing. Like I know what's going on. Like I'm cool
yeah,
with it. I'm like I get it. I get it. Like we built something risky. It didn't pan out. That's fine. Like I didn't have any hard feelings for them at
that's part of the
all.
game.
And
Yeah.
so I decided to take that as an opportunity to be like, okay, this is the first time I've had any professional freedom since 19 years old. Like, I've never been the best at what I do. I've never been the most talented at what I do, but I've been very consistent and I'm very resilient and I don't quit. And I've been doing the same thing, web
And get
design,
after
product
it.
design, whatever the fuck. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. So I was like, okay, since I've been doing the 9 to 5, I've been doing the full time employee thing since up to now. This is my opportunity to do something else. And that's when I decided, like, all right, I'm going to freelance. Like, I've got a good enough network. I've made enough relationships. I've never burned any bridges with anyone professionally. So it's like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to try
Yeah.
something new. And that's when I decided, like, all right, send a blast email. Hey, guys, I'm thinking about doing this thing. If you know anyone that needs any work or if you want to build something, hit me up. And, like, right from the get go, I got work and I'm working
It's awesome.
half as much now in my day. Like, today, I think my work day was I sent an email, I went to one meeting, and then I pushed some code to prod. And, like, that was it.
Hmm.
And then the
That's
rest of the day,
good.
like, I napped, I chilled. I've been surfing, I've been working out. I've been doing creative writing now. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it, but it's like world building. So I'm doing some like
Yeah.
creative writing, like on my notepad, doing more physical, tangible hobbies. I got rid of social media, and my mental health has never been better.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm being
Yeah.
100% honest with you.
I go through like seasons where I'll completely burn out on it. And it's either from like how people are acting. I'm like, I'm so done with this, or it's like I'm just
Yeah,
on it too much. Um, it's such a pull because it is such a big part of industry. Um, like if you have a company or you have a website, you're selling a product, social is such a part of, or it is such a beneficial part of that equation. Um,
Hmm.
I always get rid of it, but then I find myself logging back in for like a thing to be like, oh, I need to go whatever. And there's functional parts. So I was like, oh, where's that product, or looking for a restaurant, right? It's like people have Instagrams now. And so it sucks that like it's harder and harder to exist in that way. Like I want to get rid of my phone because I don't ever get anything but bullshit phone calls. And it's like, I just want to text people or like send me a Zoom, right? Like if I know you're going to email me, like I don't need a phone number anymore. But like that, I don't know. I think people, you have to either have some forced constraint or like create your own boundaries, right? And I think some people are more disciplined than others, and some people break and they have to change. But um, I think the good thing is that like I think our generation saw and kind of built the chaos of the last 5 or 10 years, and the like the over commercialization of social media and data and news and trust, like all of that, right, was this big entwined mess. And like we existed before the internet, right, and then we built it, and now we're like on this other side of it with AI. And I think that like I think everyone's a lot smarter in the sense that we know through failing like what how bad things can get. And I still get concerned about like open internet stuff and like making sure that like the internet as it was is a utility and a good that everyone has access to, and all websites are equal and da 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 da. I know that's kind of romantic, and we already have a lot of censored countries and things like that, but those things still concern me as far as technology. But like in the general sense, that like I continue to work with people and have worked with people that are really trying to build cool stuff. And the companies that have done things, whether it's because the government's told them to or because they've realized it, um, we have new expectations, especially around like social media and whether a kid should be on iPads and those kind of things. But unfortunately, there's some like downstream consequences, and so everyone's on SSRIs and freaking sad. But
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, that's for sure. Like, but I still like, even though I unplug, I've got my outside hobbies. Um, I got shit that I do just on my own. I still do this for fun. Like, I'll still just go on and I'll have an idea and I'll spin
right,
up a database and build a little product and then like mess with it. And I still tinker, but like you said,
there's always something there. It's like that curious
yeah,
tinkery thing. Like that never goes. It's I think like I try
yeah,
to do that with like building stuff. I build a lot on my property, so I'm building like a shooting range at the bottom, and like always building stuff with wood or whatever. And that's kind of like designing, and so that's a nice project to do. They're a little bit slower, but the same thing too. Like it was my problem in college. I would design, and then like my hobby was like editing video and like making music on a computer. Like everything was on a computer.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, it's crazy.
Well, cool, man.
Getting old and wise,
You've been,
Casey.
what's up?
I said we're getting
What'd you
old and
say?
wise now. We're getting
I
old and
know,
wise.
dude. Getting gray hairs, like I'm very I'm very selective with my time. I never was like that before. Like I'm very um I value my time more like currency now because
Hmm.
we are getting older, and for me, every decision I make, it's either a hell yes or a no. If it's not a hell yes, I'm not spending my precious time on it. And that's why I was so
Hmm.
vehement of like, this is my opportunity to build things that I want to build. Like one of my clients is a healthcare company. That's a good thing. That's okay, cool. Like health data,
Yep.
cool. And then I got another client who they're building really fun event management software stuff for renting like equipment, and they need to know where to put it on like a piece of land or like for a
Hmm.
wedding or whatever, and like that's pretty
Tracking,
cool.
whatnot.
All
Yeah.
right, cool, I'll build that. So I'm very selective on the things that I
Hmm.
build, and I do the things on the side that I want to do too, for just like experimentation and like whatever. So I'm just I
But
don't.
you
I
live in
don't
a
want
world too
to.
where you can like build and deliver those on your own too, right? Like you can meet
Yeah,
people that have a practical problem and build technology just by your like. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but like the term disposable software I've heard flying around too, and like I think we you were talking about no one's going to go through that linear process of like designing your things and having concepts and then a final, then you share it and then it's like your portfolio thing. That's very precious, right? Like I worked on the first Android app that Netflix built, right? It's what I say. Like, and that was like a thing because it mattered because it was, but like software already is so iterative that it's like never permanent. But like you could have, and people do this for events, like you create an app and it's around and then it's just like is dead, but still kind of this weird concept of like an app you only have for a moment. I think most software will be like that, like let's just spin up this quick little app for this event, this problem, this party, whatever, and then no, delete it.
yeah. That's how it's. I feel like that's how it's always been. Like through my entire career, I've built things in like .NET and Flash. That was big back in the
Yeah,
day, and
dude.
everything was being built in Flash. And then that went away. Then it was HTML5. Then it was just npm with what was it called? Bib something. It was a code compiling thing. This was before React, and then of course
Yeah,
Angular,
before.
React, and all that. I had to like learn these skills and then remove them from my brain, and then learn a new skill and then remove it from my brain. Whenever like the new thing came up, like that's just and my ADHD brain loves novelty, so that's why I've been doing this so long because I love like oh shit, this is something new that I can learn. Okay,
Right.
cool. This is a fun
Works
new
out good.
skill. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So cool, man. You've been very gracious with your time, and I'm just stoked to see your face and talk to you. So I
It's been
mean, this
good,
was
man.
awesome. Yeah, dude. I want to thank you again for being on the show, and keep the shiny side up, keep riding that motorcycle, and I'm stoked to hear more about the adventures you go on.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to like text you because you're not on social media anymore. So, or we can just have another one of these, and I'll have to show you the bike.
Yeah, dude. Text
And
me,
if you
mail
ever,
me.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
do these or whatever.
absolutely. And if you're ever in
Yeah.
Tennessee, I've got a spare bedroom. If you ever cruise out this way,
Hell yeah, dude. Sounds cool. Well, thanks again, dude.
of course. Thanks for having me, man.
Later.